Alrighty, welcome everyone to today's meditation. I'm Stephanie, and it's so nice to have you here with me today. As we do when we gather, just be sure to look around and notice if there's anything that for our time here would help to make you feel physically more comfortable as we aim to sit in relative ease for the next 30 or so minutes, maybe a little bit less. But just an idea of where we are headed today as you're gathering anything that'll support you, be it extra blankets, pillows, props, your support animals or children, whatever makes you feel good. I'd like you to also just take in your surroundings. Just take a gaze around, let your eyes move, and just notice what it is that's happening around you, what might be vying for your attention here today. Without getting stuck on any one thing in particular, without playing into the sort of dialogue behind what it is that you're observing, just let yourself notice what is in your space around you, so that as you begin to turn your awareness from external to internal, you can not get distracted to the best of our abilities. That's what we're working to do. And as you allow your gaze to sweep through your space and you just begin to notice what's going on around you, let your sense of sound begin to kick in, just noticing again in your place, in your space where you're joining, what it is that you may be hearing. It can be as far out as outside of the windows or in other areas of your place, maybe that your home or your office. It could be in the exact room where you are and maybe immediately around you. Again, we're just checking in with what could possibly become a distraction in the upcoming minutes. Do the same with the sense of smell, the sense of taste, just noticing any residual or lingering effects of what may have preceded your time here. So if you're in the morning as I am, that could be breakfast, coffee, tea, you name it. Again, just checking in, observing those items that could ultimately become distractions. And it's at this point that we've moved through 4 of the 5 senses that we can begin to really let ourselves get comfortable in our physical space. That being just like we took with the vision and the sound, it can be very broad to begin with. And we just take that attention, that awareness back in till we get to literally our physical body. So you may notice where you've chosen to join for today's meditation. Maybe it's just not feeling like it's the best place. So take a moment and go ahead and change that. Perhaps you found that this is the space, but there's something going on with the physical body. Something's aching or pinching or itching, and you just need to pay attention to it. So go ahead and pay attention to it. It's funny, these influences, these distractions that can come and grow through our senses really do get fed by the fact that some of it is actually happening. Like pain is really pain, but sometimes it's also the effects of what's going on in our minds, and our mind is making it a little bit more than what it actually is, which plays beautifully into what I wanted to explore in our time here today. So I've been, as I do, deep in reading different philosophies and, trying to weave what's happening in the world into how I want to show up and participate in the world. And it was interesting. I came across something today that reminded me that contentment, that feeling of being content, really is an internal facing outward experience. But so much of our lives are lived as if we are content once the outside world satiates some internal desire. So it's a different perspective, right? And in playing around and exploring that on my own, when do I experience, when do I feel these moments of contentment, which is different than avoidance. But when I'm feeling at ease in this pause, this space in between me existing and me doing something, that can be hard. I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels like if I'm not doing, then what am I doing? And so we revisit this feeling of contentment coming from the inside out. Have I done the work? Have I celebrated and sat with the results of the work? And can I be in the effects, the results of the efforts I put in? In short, can I appreciate the result of all of my work to this point? And again, I don't know about you, but in my reflection of this, I realized it's really hard for me to be like, every Wednesday I show up, I do meditation, I join all of you. But have I really sat in the moment afterwards and been like, the efforts of this work were to really sit in stillness and in silence and to not worry about what happened or the next thing that may happen, but to just be in the efforts or in the results of my efforts. So I wanted to share that with you all today. Maybe it's something that you also are working with, or maybe you haven't thought about it before and now you're like, oh, that's interesting. And the practice that I think pairs nicely with this, at least the breath work part of it that we're going to work on today, is that box breathing. It's become very commonplace recently. A lot of places talking about, a lot of information out there about box breathing. But what's specific about it that I like in sort of regards to what I'm sharing with you, my sort of thought here today of sitting in the space between being and doing, is box breathing was actually developed, or maybe more formalized, I should say, by the Navy SEALs. And it was a way to regulate, essentially, how the body responds under deep stress, and under life-threatening situations. It's not a practice to force something to happen. It's actually a practice to settle into what the body knows how to do. It's sort of like reining the mind in, who's like, wow, danger, something's going on, and allowing the mind and the body to come together. And for as much as we may not want to do the breathing work, the whole process that the SEALs came up with to use during these very extremely stressful times was entirely based on breathing and working with the breath. I mean, what a powerful tool. And so box breathing, as we're probably all, we've heard of it, very familiar, but understanding the components of it is the way they teach it is a 4-4-4-4 count. So it's an inhale to 4, pause for 4, exhale to a count of 4, pause for 4. Now, that ratio may not work for everyone, which means that we can play with where we are and what works for us, and then we can build to this point. But the visual that also can help as well is that creation of a box. So imagine the inhale coming up one side of your body to a count of 4. The pause, moving that breath across the body for a count of 4. Exhaling, count of 4. Pause for a count of 4 as the breath moves back to the starting point. And as we play with the box breath here today, what I'd like to invite you to do is to notice, where are you putting in a little bit more effort in areas where being, just being, may be the action you want to take. More specifically, as you inhale for 4, does your mind start to worry, what is that pause for 4 going to look like? And does it change from this ability to sit and pause right before the exhale? And this is natural to your breath, right? So it's not forced. You don't have to force your body to do it. But notice, does your mind start to get ahead of you and think, I don't know, this feels weird. And does it start to feel like constriction, like forcing, like doing? And can you just be curious about that as you exhale? And then know that there's a pause coming, but that pause really should just be this natural sitting in that moment of contentment. But have we turned it into another moment of having to do something? This, if it's worth something, it must be something I have to be doing. Can we turn that contentment lens from being this outward reflection in to this inward reflection out? No one said this was supposed to be easy. No one said that this was supposed to be hard. This is just quite simply an exercise that brings your mind to your breath. And that's all. No more hidden agenda than that. Just being with your breath. So with that, we're getting ourselves all comfy. Let yourself settle into your seat or your reclined position. Let's let the hands rest, palms down, either alongside us, or if you're seated, gently resting on the thighs. Just check in here naturally with your breath. Just notice what it's doing. Notice where it's going. If it feels like there's a little bit of extra heat or oomph behind your breath today, take your arriving breaths. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. Let the shoulders begin to relax away from the ears. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, feel the body settling down through your seat, becoming light up the side body and through the crown of the head. One more time, just like that, as you inhale, the breath moves in. Exhale, side out. If that served you, go ahead, let the lips gently press together. Let the eyes begin to close, or the gaze to begin to soften away from the device on which you're joining. Let your awareness move to how the breath is moving in and out of the nose. Notice the temperature, the texture, maybe even if you can feel the subtlety of the breath moving with more emphasis through one nostril versus the other. Begin to notice the qualities of the inhale as compared to the exhale. And we'll begin to slowly associate a count with our breath. So it's a count of 4 on the inhale. Count down from 4 on the exhale. Now, depending on how fast or slow your breath is, you're going to work to manage the count, not the breath. So a faster breath is a faster count, a slower breath is a slower count. So as you inhale, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. So continuing on your own, your count may be faster or slower. Begin to notice what happens as you just count the quality of your breath. Notice any sensations or emotions that begin to arise. Notice what changes simply by just counting the breath. You're breathing all along. This isn't something that you needed to be consciously aware of. But just become curious about how this changes as you do begin to bring consciousness to this automatic system, this process of breathing. Begin to notice if maybe you begin to grip somewhere, the jaw, the low back, maybe even the hands. Can you just relax? We're just breathing. The only thing that's changed is we've just begun to count. Have you noticed whether or not the breath feels smoother or choppier simply by bringing this count in? A lot of times we can, again, anticipate that next thing, and that can contribute to the type of actions we take next. So for some of us, the breath is beginning to really smooth out, almost become effortless. And for others, we may begin to notice that for some reason, breathing just became a whole lot harder. And that's just interesting. That's all. So we're still counting that breath up on the inhale, counting the breath down on the exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1 on the exhale. After your next exhale, just pause. Let yourself release that count. Notice, what you feel, what you sense. Just letting yourself sit in the contentment, the effects, the results of your work, which is simply just bringing awareness to your breath. And now we'll take this breathing into the next step, that box breath, remembering that the only work here is really the observation, bringing conscious awareness to our breath. If you feel yourself stress or strain during this exercise, release it and just notice. Curious, huh? When we bring our awareness to our breath, we can make it effortful or effortless. And if it feels like a lot of work today, we let it go and we come back tomorrow. And so to begin, pick a point with the lower belly at one of your tops of your hips. Imagine a line being drawn up that side body as you inhale to a count of 4. And then at the top of the inhale, there's a natural pause. Can you sit in that pause as that breath moves across the top of your chest to the other side of the body to a count of 4? And then notice how the exhale just begins as you count down the line of breath moving from the upper chest on the other side down all the way along the side body down to the top of the hip. And then the exhale concludes, a pause moves the breath back over along the low abdomen, back to the starting point. That is your box. Let's repeat that. So we inhale up, side body, to the count of 4. Feel the pause as the inhale concludes. The breath move across the chest. Slow, smooth exhale to a count of 4 as the breath moves down the other side of the body. And then the conclusion of the exhale is just this pause. There's no work to do. The breath moves back to its starting point. And with less instruction, let's move up the body on the inhale to a count of 4. Sit in the pause. 2, 3, 4. Feel the exhale move out of the body. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 2, 3, 4. Do this 2 more times on your own. When you're done, just release everything. Notice the sensations in your body. Observe your mind's opinion of that exercise. Notice your reaction to sitting in that space. There's no action, no doing, just being. Does it feel natural? And go ahead and begin to deepen your breath. You can even sigh it out if you'd like. Wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. And gently begin to take movements that feel good in the body. And then find yourself back in that neutral position. If you're in a reclined position, go ahead and roll yourself over onto one side, beginning to make that slow, intentional journey, that transition back from that reclined position into a comfortable seated position. And from this comfortable seat, we'll all begin to tuck our chins towards our chest, gently move the chin from side to side, and then come to find stillness. Allow the eyes to gently flutter open. Find a spot on the floor to focus your attention, allowing that blood pressure and heart rate to come back up. And then bring your gaze back to a neutral position. Pause. What does it feel like to be in the results of your actions? We're at the end of our time here. Do we feel the inclination to get up and run and do more? Or can we just enjoy a few moments here, holding space, being in the space that we created, celebrating without any actions, the efforts that we've put forth so far today? I thank you all for being with me here today. I hope that it serves you, makes this day one with many opportunities where you celebrate not doing anything, just being in the results of all of your hard efforts. All right, until next time, wishing you a great day and the rest of your week.